After turning 60, this sweet and juicy habit can quietly increase your risk of stroke overnight without any warning symptoms or pain. Even if you feel fine, your speech may become slurred in the morning, or you might lose your balance. One side of your body may become immobile. As a brain specialist, I have seen many elderly patients suffer unexpected strokes. It wasn't from smoking fast food or lack of exercise, but from things they believed to be healthy. Fruit, yes, fruit. Every day, millions of elderly people eat fruit, thinking it's good for their heart, brain, and digestion. While many fruits support healthy aging, some can quietly cause harm if eaten at the wrong time or in the wrong amount. These can cause rapid spikes in blood sugar dehydration of the brain or dangerous interactions with medications. And the scariest part is that no one warns you about it. Today, I will explain 9 common fruits that may increase the risk of stroke, memory loss, and even brain hemorrhage, especially for those over 60. Have you ever wondered if a healthy habit might actually be backfiring? If so, you need to hear this. I promise this could save your life. Before we begin, if you haven't subscribed yet, please press the button and turn on notifications so you don't miss health tips made just for you. If you enjoy this video, please leave your thoughts in the comments below. If not, type 0 and let me know how I can create better content. First up is one fruit, the banana. Excessive sudden intake of potassium has led me as a brain doctor to see many unexpected strokes, but few things trouble me more than seemingly harmless habits that quietly lead to disaster. And believe it or not, bananas are one of those hidden dangers. You've probably heard this your whole life. Bananas are the perfect snack. Soft, easy to digest, rich in potassium, and even said to be good for your heart. And for the average adult in their 30s or 40s, that might be true. But after 60, everything changes, especially how the kidneys, blood vessels, and heart handle sudden changes in minerals like potassium. Let me explain this clearly. As we age, kidney function naturally declines. This decline is even more pronounced if you already have high blood pressure, diabetes, or take ACE inhibitors, diuretics, or other common medications. This means the potassium abundant in bananas can start to build up in your bloodstream. So what happens then? Your heart begins to malfunction, blood vessels constrict, and worst of all, blood clots can form where your blood should flow freely. In the brain, such clots can cause all functions to stop within seconds. I will never forget one of my patients, Mr. Raymond, a 66-year-old retired carpenter from Ohio. He was active, sharp-minded, and proud of eating healthy. Every morning, he sliced bananas onto oatmeal and took his blood pressure medication with orange juice. It was a routine he had followed for over a year. But one morning, his wife found him collapsed in the bathroom. He couldn't move his left side. His speech was slurred. Tests at the hospital revealed a mild but serious stroke. His blood potassium levels were dangerously high, disrupting his heart rhythm and causing clot formation overnight. He was unaware that simply eating 2 bananas daily along with his medication put his body at risk. This is something most seniors are never taught. You don't need that much potassium, whether from supplements or eating fruit repeatedly, especially all at once. One large banana alone contains over 400 or 500 milliliters of potassium. If your kidneys aren't functioning at their best, that's enough to throw your body off balance. Eating bananas at night worsens blood circulation, reduces hydration, and leaves medication effects lingering, leading to the worst outcomes. Hardened arteries, sticky blood, and clots that might never give you a second chance. So what should you do after 60? Especially if you're taking heart or blood pressure medications, limit your banana intake to half a banana a day and eat it in the morning. Also, always eat it with protein like Greek yogurt or nuts to slow absorption. Avoid banana smoothies and banana bread, and absolutely don't eat bananas before bed. Most importantly, consult your doctor about how potassium-rich foods interact with your prescription medications. Your life might depend on it, because here lies the truth. What was once healthy for your body may no longer be safe. You won't realize this unless you understand the whole picture. If you were shocked by bananas, ask yourself how grapes, the small sweet grapes, affect blood sugar, brain vessels, and silent inflammation. What I'm about to discuss next might forever change how you snack. If you're still watching and find these insights helpful, please write your thoughts in the first comment below to show your support. Now let's move on to the second point. 2. Grapes, a sugar bomb in a small package. Grapes, sweet, juicy, and refreshing. A snack that makes you feel innocent like a spring breeze. They're always on fruit plates or cereal bowls or served after Sunday lunch with grandchildren. But what if I told you grapes could be a quiet trigger for stroke in people over 60? Especially those with hidden vascular issues or unstable blood sugar. It's easy to forget that grapes are concentrated sugars wrapped in delicate skin. A few grapes might not seem dangerous individually, but just a handful of the super sweet seedless grapes commonly found in US grocery stores floods your bloodstream with a large amount of natural glucose and fructose. And for an aging brain and blood vessels, that spike comes at a high cost. As we age, our bodies become less efficient at managing blood sugar. Insulin response slows down. Blood vessels become more fragile. A rapid blood sugar spike stresses the pancreas, yes? But it also causes inflammation inside delicate arteries, including those that supply blood to the brain. When these arteries become inflamed, they harden and narrow. Over time, tiny tears form in the vessel walls and blood clots begin to form there. You may not feel it. Regular checkups might miss it, but your body is quietly setting the stage for silent strokes. Let me tell you about Mrs. Janet Morris, an 80-year-old retired teacher from Missouri. She was proud of living naturally. She avoided soda and processed foods and always ate fresh fruit. Her favorite mid-morning snack was a generous serving of red grapes. She was snacking on it while reading the newspaper or watching the news. Sometimes she would mindlessly eat nearly 2 bowls of it. One day, while writing a birthday card, she noticed her vision was blurry. After a while, her hand started to tremble and she couldn't remember how to say congratulations. Her daughter, worried about a stroke, rushed her to the hospital. And sure enough, it was a transient ischemic attack caused by a blood clot, temporarily blocking blood flow to the left side of her brain, a mild stroke as it's often called. Her blood test showed a sharp spike in blood sugar around noon, and her A1C, a long-term blood sugar marker, was in the pre-diabetes range, though she had no idea. More importantly, she had chronic low-grade inflammation in her vascular system. This was likely due to years of eating sugary fruits without balancing proteins and fiber. What I want everyone to understand is this: even healthy foods can become dangerous without the proper context. After age 60, when you eat and what you eat with it is just as important as the food itself. Grapes digest quickly. They flood your blood vessels with sugar. Especially when you're dehydrated or stressed, eating them alone thickens your blood, constricts vessels, and increases clotting risk. You might not notice it at first, but night after night, week after week, it builds up until something finally breaks. That's why I tell older patients never to eat grapes on an empty stomach. And never fill a whole bowl. Eat a few grapes with some protein or almonds, a slice of cheese, preferably during an active time when your body can burn the sugar, and eat them in small amounts. If you have diabetes or take blood pressure medication, do not stop your medication unless your doctor instructs you to. Because even snacks that seem harmless can over time quietly steal your balance memory, and even your independence. Speaking of sweet dangers, many elderly people love tropical fruits. They not only spike blood sugar, but their acids, enzymes, and effects on the brain at night might surprise you. Let's talk about pineapple and why your favorite dessert might harm your brain while you sleep. We'll discuss why it could negatively impact your brain during sleep. Number 3, the combination of pineapple acid and sugar. Taking a bite of pineapple feels like sunshine, sweet, tart, tropical. Many of my elderly patients believe it's light, natural, and full of enzymes that aid digestion, so they enjoy it as a guilt-free treat after dinner. But what most seniors don't realize, and what deeply concerns me as a neurologist, is that eating this fruit at the wrong time or under the wrong conditions can be a silent risk factor for stroke, especially at night. Pineapple contains bromelain, a natural enzyme that breaks down proteins in the body. In small amounts, bromelain may aid digestion, but in excess, especially combined with certain medications, it can interfere with blood clotting, impair platelet function, and lead to unexpected bleeding or clot formation. For people over 60 who naturally have narrower blood vessels and slower metabolism, this imbalance can have serious consequences. And don't forget the sugar. 1 cup of pineapple contains over 16 grams of natural sugars, which cause a rapid spike in blood sugar. Unlike berries or apples, pineapple significantly raises blood sugar with a high glycemic index that sends sugar rushing into your bloodstream. And when eaten late at night, that spike isn't used for energy. It just circulates, putting stress on your blood vessels while you sleep. But the most overlooked threat is the acid. Pineapple is one of the most acidic fruits in the American diet. It can irritate the esophagus and cause silent reflux, which some elderly people experience without the typical burning sensation. Instead, it causes tiny aspiration and changes in airway pressure at night, leading to reduced oxygen supply to the brain during sleep, and increasing the risk of the deadliest kind of stroke, early morning strokes. I once treated a patient named Mrs. Clara Hughes, 77, from North Carolina, now a retired choir conductor. She was active, sharp-minded, and dedicated to a healthy diet. She avoided processed sweets and started eating a few slices of fresh pineapple instead of her usual dessert after dinner. This became her nightly ritual for over a year. Then one morning, she woke up confused and disoriented. Her daughter noticed her speech was slurred and that she was unsteady while walking. A CT scan showed she had a mild stroke in the posterior circulation, affecting her balance and speech. Her blood tests showed elevated blood sugar and signs of inflammation from nighttime reflux, as well as platelet abnormalities. The culprit wasn't a single cause, but a combination triggered by her nightly pineapple habit, acid reflux, blood sugar spikes, and bromelain's impact on blood clotting. It was a fruit she believed was helping her but nearly cost her independence. Clara's case is not uncommon. In older adults, digestion slows, blood vessel walls thin, and sleep becomes unstable. Combine that with acidic, sugary fruit at night, and the brain's most vulnerable resting state faces constricted blood vessels. Under the right conditions, clots quietly form, causing strokes during sleep. So what does this mean? If you like pineapple, eat it in small amounts during the morning, never on an empty stomach, and avoid combining it with blood thinners unless your doctor says otherwise. And most importantly, don't eat it before bed. During sleep, the brain needs stability, not surprises. Because at this stage in life, even fruit can throw off your balance, but if pineapple shocked you, wait until you hear the truth about watermelon. It's considered great for hydration, but under certain conditions, it can unknowingly dry out your brain, lower blood pressure, and increase the risk of collapse. let's talk about why something so watery can become so dangerous. If you're still watching and find these insights helpful, please let us know by commenting below the first comment. Now let's move on to point number 4. Number 4, watermelon. It's not necessarily hydrating. It's hard to find a fruit more loved than watermelon in an American summer. On July 4th, after spending a hot afternoon in the garden, we enjoyed chilled slices and a seed-spitting contest with the grandchildren savoring the sweet and refreshing crunch. It feels harmless and even healthy. Yes, it's full of water, however. For elderly people, especially those with underlying cardiovascular conditions, or taking certain medications, watermelon can quietly put their bodies at risk. Not through sugars or acids, but through what it depletes from the body. As a brain specialist, I've grown increasingly concerned about how often foods considered safe by seniors unknowingly trigger stroke risks. Watermelon is one of the biggest misconceptions. It may seem like a good way to hydrate, but in reality, watermelon is a diuretic increasing urination. This isn't much of an issue for a 25-year-old, but for a 75-year-old with a weak circulatory system, borderline blood pressure, and already taking diuretics or ACE inhibitors, frequent urination can cause nighttime dehydration, one of the most dangerous silent triggers for stroke. This is because when the body becomes dehydrated, the blood thickens. Imagine syrup slowly poured through narrow vessels. Thickened blood moves slower, and especially in arteries already hardened by aging, it takes longer for blood clots to form. The brain, already sensitive to oxygen changes, becomes even more vulnerable when blood flow slows or is interrupted. This is especially true at night when the body's natural circulation slows and blood pressure drops. Let's talk about Howard Larkin, an 82-year-old retired postal worker from Indiana. He did everything he believed was right, walking daily, avoiding processed sugars, and snacking only on healthy foods. One habit he liked was eating 2 or 3 large slices of watermelon after dinner to cool down and hydrate. But he was unaware he was also prescribed diuretics for mild heart failure. Because of his medication and the natural diuretic effect of watermelon, Howard's body expelled excess fluids overnight. One morning, Howard woke up dizzy. When he tried to stand, he collapsed. At the hospital, his blood pressure was dangerously low and blood tests showed signs of hemoconcentration caused by dehydration. A scan revealed a mild stroke, likely caused by a blood clot forming in a narrowed artery during sleep. In the end, his watermelon was drying him out, not hydrating him, contrary to what he thought. Worse, the stroke affected Howard's balance and coordination. He survived, but now walks with a cane and needs assistance with daily activities. This is a man who was mowing his own lawn just a week ago. I'm not telling this story to scare unnecessarily. I share this because most seniors don't realize even healthy foods can become dangerous due to aging medication and timing. Especially eating watermelon late at night after taking fluid-reducing medication carries hidden risks: thickened blood, lowered blood pressure, and slowed circulation. These 3 conditions quietly form blood clots that can cause a stroke overnight. So if you enjoy watermelon, do so wisely. Eat it earlier in this day and always with a pinch of salt or an electrolyte like coconut water. If you're on diuretics, consult your doctor before making it a daily habit. And most importantly, listen to your body. Morning dizziness, dry mouth at night, or confusion upon waking are not normal. These are whispers of warnings. Because even fruit that's 90% water can become a thief that quietly steals brain health. And worst of all, you might not realize it until it's too late. Now, for those surprised by this, please wait until we talk about a fruit known as a classic healthy breakfast staple, the classic American orange. But beneath that bright color lies chemicals that can interfere with heart and brain medications, and they can cause far more dangerous situations than most imagine. Yes, oranges, the citrus-drug interaction. Oranges have long been a symbol of health in American households. A glass of freshly squeezed juice with breakfast, a bowl of orange slices on the kitchen table, or the classic orange in Christmas stockings, they've been seen for decades as nature's vitamin C miracle. But for seniors, especially those on heart or blood pressure medications, oranges quietly become a chemical cocktail that can trigger dangerous chain reactions leading to blood clots and strokes. The problem isn't just the sugar. Even one large orange or glass of juice can spike blood sugar. But citrus also contains a natural compound called furanocoumarin, and most seniors have never heard of it. Furanocoumarin can interfere with the metabolism of certain drugs, especially statins, calcium channel blockers, and blood thinners. This means the body might either hold on to the drugs too long, increasing toxicity, or eliminate them too quickly, rendering them ineffective. This interaction works slowly and quietly, destabilizing the blood, causing unexpected artery constriction, and silently starting blood clot formation that can be fatal. As a brain specialist, I've seen too many patients pay the price for mixing healthy fruit with powerful medications. One such patient was Elmer Bryant, a 79-year-old retired bus driver from Georgia. A kind man with a warm smile, Elmer was taking torvastatin for high cholesterol and multiple antihypertensives for blood pressure. He also took pride in living naturally. Every morning, he started his day with a big glass of freshly squeezed orange juice. He called it the sunshine in his glass. What Elmer didn't know was that the furanocoumarin in that juice was blocking the breakdown of his medications in the liver. His blood pressure meds built up in his muscles and bloodstream, worsening inflammation and harming his blood vessels. At the same time, statins accumulated, aggravating inflammation and affecting his vessels. After feeling mild dizziness for several days one morning, Elmer stood up from his recliner and collapsed. He was slurring his words and confused when taken to the emergency room. A CT scan revealed a mild stroke, and blood tests showed drug levels had risen to dangerous levels, not from overdose, but because orange juice blocked drug clearance in his liver. His blood had become unstable. It circulated unpredictably, forming clots that clogged the narrow arteries in his brain. When I explained this to Elmer and his wife, they were shocked. He told me he always believed orange juice was good for the body, and this had happened only once. But an aging body is no longer the same as before. What worked at 40 years old may not necessarily work at 70 or 80 years old. This is especially true since prescription medications have become more commonly used. Therefore, elderly people taking medications need to carefully consider regularly consuming grapefruit, Seville oranges, or even regular navel oranges. As you age, your liver slows down, its efficiency decreases, and the risk of drug-food interactions increases significantly. For those over 60, it's recommended to eat oranges in moderation and not combine oranges and medicine without consulting a doctor. If you love citrus fruits, choose lower-risk options like clementines, or dilute a small amount of juice in water instead of drinking a full glass. If you are taking prescription medications, ask your doctor whether citrus fruits might affect your treatment. The truth is, what matters is not just what's inside your medicine cabinet, it's also what's in your fruit bowl. Simple daily habits of goodwill could quietly become the hidden hand leading your brain toward ruin. If this worries you, it should, but knowledge is power. Simply changing how and when you consume certain fruits can greatly reduce those risks. If you think oranges are the only fruit with downsides you eat regularly, keep reading. The next fruit I'll introduce is often distributed in hospitals and touted for gut health and energy, but it may quietly be stripping away the protective membranes of your nerves. Let's talk about the hidden trap of apples and sugar that nobody warns you about. Apples, the surprising sugar trap. Apples are a symbol of American health, right? An apple a day keeps the doctor away is what we've all heard. You've probably heard that too. Crisp, juicy, and easy-to-eat apples are handed out at hospitals, included in senior lunch programs, and lovingly wrapped by grandchildren who wish good health to their grandparents. However, for seniors, especially those over 60 managing blood pressure, diabetes, or cognitive changes, apples might not be as harmless as they seem. In fact, eating the wrong type of apple the wrong way can dangerously disrupt blood sugar and vascular stability, quietly increasing the risk of stroke. As you know, not all apples are made the same. Apples contain fiber and nutrients, but many of the most popular American varieties like Fuji, Honeycrisp, and Gala are grown for sweetness rather than nutrition. These apples have a high glycemic load, flooding the bloodstream with natural sugars faster than aging bodies can process. And especially if eaten alone without protein or healthy fats, that slow digestion blood sugar spikes quickly and then crashes. This sudden rise and fall affects more than just your energy. It impacts blood pressure, vascular inflammation, and blood viscosity. When blood sugar spikes, blood becomes more acidic and sticky. Over time, insulin levels surge and blood vessels constrict. Repeating this pattern daily damages the delicate inner lining of arteries, including those supplying the brain. Tiny tears may form, and the body responds by creating blood clots to repair the damage. In young adults, the system recovers quickly. But in seniors with already narrow, stiff arteries, these clots can trigger strokes at the worst possible moment. One of my patients, Mrs. Louise Hammond, 81, from Pennsylvania, lived most of her life in good health. She walked daily, took prescribed medications properly, and followed what she believed was a wise diet. Every afternoon, she ate a large Honeycrisp apple as a snack. No chips or cookies, just fruit. But she had insulin resistance and didn't realize the daily blood sugar spikes were stressing her aging blood vessels. Over time, she began noticing slightly blurred vision in the evenings and occasional pressure in her head when standing up. One night while preparing dinner, Louise suddenly couldn't speak clearly. Her daughter rushed her to the emergency room where imaging confirmed a mild stroke. Her tests showed unstable blood sugar patterns and signs of endothelial inflammation. Even with medication working, blood sugar spikes quietly damaged her blood vessels. And indeed, a blood clot had formed, likely formed during one of those sudden sugar spikes. Louise recovered, but now sees apples differently. Not as an enemy, but as something to approach with awareness and balance. This is what I tell all my elderly patients. If you like apples, choose wisely. Granny Smith apples have less sugar and contain polyphenols, compounds that protect the brain. To minimize blood sugar impact, always eat apples with a protein or fat source like almond butter or cheese. And especially in the evening, avoid eating sweet apples on an empty stomach. The brain needs steady fuel, not roller coaster fluctuations, because even something as healthy as apples can quietly trigger conditions that make strokes more likely. Particularly when blood sugar fluctuates, blood vessels constrict and clots silently start to form until one day they can't stay quiet anymore. If this surprises you, please keep watching. Next is a fruit many seniors favor for heart health. Colorful, rich in antioxidants, often called a superfood. But hidden beneath its ruby skin is a compound that can overly thin your blood. And for those already on medication, that could mean the difference between safety and a brain hemorrhage. Let's talk about cherries and why eating too many can be dangerous. If you're still watching and find this information helpful, please leave your thoughts in the first comment below to let me know you agree. Now let's move on to point 7. 7. Cherries are a hidden source of salicylates. Small, beautiful, and colorful cherries have earned a reputation as one of the healthiest fruits in the American diet. Doctors recommend them for inflammation, arthritis, and even heart health. You can find them in senior health magazines and organic markets added to everything from yogurt to salads. But behind their sweet taste and glowing reputation, cherries carry little-known risks for seniors already taking blood thinners or anticoagulant medications. The danger lies in a natural compound called salicylates found in cherries. This substance acts like aspirin, thinning the blood. For seniors whose blood is already thinned by medications like warfarin, Plavix, or daily aspirin, moderate amounts can be beneficial, but additional salicylates from food may overload the body. The result is blood that clots, poorly fragile vessels leaking blood, and in the worst case, hemorrhagic stroke inside the brain. Most people don't associate this with fruit. It may sound far-fetched, but I have seen it firsthand. Let's talk about Mr. Daniel Rhodes, an 84-year-old retired train conductor from Illinois. A few years ago, he had a minor heart attack and was taking a small daily dose of aspirin. He was also on statins and blood pressure medication. Every night, he finished his dinner with a small bowl of cherries. He called them dessert. He had read that they helped with inflammation and wanted to stay active for his great-grandchildren. At first, there were no dangerous signs, but after a few weeks, Daniel started experiencing headaches, dizziness, and occasional nausea. One morning, he woke up confused and vomiting. His wife rushed him to the emergency room. A CT scan revealed something terrifying. A brain hemorrhage, a hemorrhagic stroke not caused by high blood pressure or trauma, but because his blood had thinned so much it couldn't clot, causing small vessels in his brain to rupture. The doctors ruled out any medication errors. His medication doses were accurate and his vital signs were stable. But when reviewing his diet, it became clear that the combined effect of his prescribed blood thinners and the salicylic acid in cherries quietly triggered the worst outcome. That's what made this situation so dangerous. The effect is subtle and develops gradually. Even if you feel fine, that might not be the case. Once bleeding starts in the brain, stopping it is difficult. Recovery is uncertain. Some lose their speech, others lose mobility. Many never regain full independence. There's something I want more elderly people to understand. Even natural foods can interact with prescription medications. A body at 70 or 80 years old can't handle things like it did at 40. Fruits that might help younger people recover from pain could jeopardize someone on blood thinners. So if you like cherries, please eat them carefully. Small amounts occasionally might be safe, but if you're on clotting-affecting medications, avoid concentrated cherry products, juice, or large daily intakes. And always consult your doctor before adding anything regularly to your diet. Especially when eating something medicinal like this sweet little fruit, caution is crucial. Because for an aging body already struggling to maintain balance, what seems minor can escalate into a serious problem. Blood that's too thin doesn't just leak, it rushes out and leaves lasting damage. If you think that's the end of the surprises, think again. There's another fruit often praised as an antioxidant, served in luxurious bowls at senior brunches, but it might carry the most pesticides of any produce in the grocery store. For seniors, these toxins aren't just washed away, they accumulate in the body, and they may cause far more harm to the brain than you've been told. Let's take a close look at strawberries and what hides beneath their red shine. If you're still watching and finding these insights helpful, please let us know in the first comment section below that you're here. Now let's move on to point 7. 8. Strawberries, mold, pesticides, and gout triggers. They look pure, bright, red heart-shaped sweet with just the right tartness. Strawberries are a symbol of health. They appear on hospital trays in brain-boosting smoothies and at retirement community brunches nationwide. But for seniors, the truth about strawberries isn't so sweet. In fact, this popular fruit might quietly increase the risk of stroke, inflammation, and long-term brain toxicity in ways few have warned about. Let's start with something most people don't know. Strawberries are among the most heavily pesticide-sprayed fruits in American agriculture. These crops top the Environmental Working Group's Dirty Dozen list each year, ranking highest for pesticide residues even after washing. And as detox functions decline with age, these chemicals aren't easily eliminated from the bodies of older adults. They accumulate in tissues, including the brain, potentially impairing nerve function and weakening blood vessels from within. Pesticides aren't just surface irritants. Many, especially those used on conventionally grown strawberries, are neurotoxic. They damage brain cells and increase oxidative stress in aging neurons. Over time, especially the structural integrity of small vessels in the brain's white matter weakens, making regions most vulnerable to stroke, memory loss, and cognitive decline even more fragile. Once damage begins, the body responds with inflammation and clotting, increasing the risk of ischemic stroke and transient ischemic attacks. But the risks don't stop at pesticides. Strawberries also contain purines, natural compounds broken down into uric acid in the body. People with gout, kidney disease, or vasculitis need to be cautious. For many seniors, elevated uric acid triggers inflammation, narrows blood vessels, raises blood pressure, and again promotes clot formation. One of my patients, Mrs. Elaine Carter, an 80-year-old from Michigan, has loved strawberries for years. Every June, she picked fresh strawberries, froze them for winter smoothies, and enjoyed a handful after dinner because they were healthy. She had mild hypertension, took diuretics, and sometimes suffered from joint pain. Over time, she began feeling dizzy in the mornings and experienced persistent swollen joints. One morning, she woke up with numbness in her right hand and slurred speech. A CT scan confirmed a mild stroke, and tests showed elevated uric acid, signs of oxidative stress and mild inflammation. This was a slow inflammatory process likely caused by years of exposure to pesticide residues and excess purines. Her habit of eating strawberries to stay healthy had become a subtle daily risk. And indeed, clots formed that her body could no longer clear. Elaine survived but now lives with mild memory impairment and nerve sensitivity in her hands. When she tearfully told me this, I thought I was doing the right thing, but it reminded me how important context is in aging nutrition. Because even superfoods can become toxic if consumed by the wrong body at the wrong time under the wrong conditions. So how should you eat strawberries? Always make sure they are organic and wash them thoroughly. Don't eat them every day or rely on them as your main antioxidant source. If you have gout, kidney disease, or take blood pressure medications, consult your doctor before adding them to your regular diet. Be especially careful with frozen strawberries in pre-made smoothies. These often come from overseas where regulations are even looser. Because the things you don't know slowly and quietly hurt you. And one day a blood clot will steal your words, throw off your balance, and leave you unable to stand on your own. For those surprised by strawberries, let me tell you about an exotic, luxurious fruit that's also considered healthy. It's an ingredient often found in heart health supplements, but it can quietly disrupt your blood pressure and cause morning strokes. Let's talk about mangoes and why this sweet tropical fruit might not belong on your table. Number 9. Mangoes. Blood sugar spikes and medication interference. For many seniors, mangoes are a tropical treat, feeling like a reward when they have done the right thing. Soft, fragrant, and naturally sweet. They're sliced into fruit salads, blended into smoothies at wellness cafes for seniors, or dried and sold as healthy snacks in grocery stores. The bright orange flesh looks like nature's own dessert. And for many, that's exactly how it's marketed. But for seniors, especially those managing heart disease, blood pressure, or taking multiple medications, mangoes can be a quiet disruptor. Something that raises stroke risk in ways most doctors don't mention. Here's the inconvenient truth. Mangoes are one of the highest sugar fruits in the American diet. 1 cup of ripe mango contains about 45 grams of natural sugar, more than the average donut. Unlike complex carbs, the sugars in mangoes are quickly absorbed, causing blood sugar to spike rapidly, followed by a sharp insulin surge and crash. This is especially dangerous for seniors with insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, or unstable blood pressure. This roller coaster effect can put significant strain on blood vessels, especially those in the brain. When blood sugar spikes, the body responds with inflammation. Arteries constrict, blood flow slows, and in the delicate vessels supplying the brain, inflammation can cause tiny cracks inside the vessel walls. When that happens, the body switches to repair mode, forming blood clots to seal those cracks. This is a natural defense, but when it happens in narrowed or stiffened vessels, it can trigger a stroke. But that's not all. Mangoes don't just disrupt blood sugar. They also contain natural compounds that interfere with how the liver processes medications, especially those for heart rhythm, cholesterol, and blood pressure. One of these compounds, menisferin, has been shown in several studies to slow down the cytochrome P450 enzyme system the liver uses to break down many prescription drugs. When this system slows, drugs build up in the body, increasing risks of overdose, side effects, and dangerous interactions. If you're taking medications like amlodipine, metoprolol, or common statins, your blood pressure might drop too low or your heart rhythm could change unpredictably. Let me tell you about William Booker, an 83-year-old former firefighter from Nevada. He was proud of his active lifestyle, daily walks, balanced diet, and always trying heart-healthy choices. A few months ago, he wisely decided to switch from cookies to dried mango slices as an afternoon snack. He was also taking medication for high blood pressure and atrial fibrillation. After a few weeks, William started noticing dizziness in the mornings. One day, he fainted getting out of bed. His wife noticed he looked pale, confused, and the left side of his face drooped slightly. Tests at the hospital confirmed he'd had a mild stroke. Lab results showed his blood pressure had dropped too low overnight, and despite taking the correct dose, his medication levels were abnormally high. His doctor and I reviewed everything, and the culprit became clear. The dried mango he ate daily had overburdened his liver and interfered with his medication's effects. The blood sugar spikes made things worse, creating the perfect environment for blood clots. William survived but suffered impaired mobility and short-term memory from the stroke. Now he lives every day remembering how nature almost took everything from him. That's why I urge seniors to reconsider tropical fruits like mangoes. Their sweetness hides their dangers. It's not just the sugar. It's how they interact with the aging body's slower metabolism and the complex web of medications many seniors rely on. Even just a few dried slices can throw the body's balance off. So what's a safe approach? If you really love mangoes, eat only a small amount, just a few bites, and only during the day. Never eat them before bed. To reduce blood sugar spikes, always eat them with protein or fat. And if you take medications for heart cholesterol or blood pressure, talk to your doctor first. Mangoes might no longer be right for you. At this stage in life, that's possible. Because as we age, there's less room for error. What you tolerated in your 30s or 40s, even fruit, can now lead to serious consequences. Now, after hearing about these 9 fruits that seem healthy but aren't, you might wonder, what can support your aging brain, energize your heart, and still bring joy to your meals? Don't worry, in the final section, I'll introduce real foods that protect memory, improve balance, and don't interfere with medications, foods safe for your brain. No pills, powders, or exotic ingredients needed. Just whole, simple foods, and a little wisdom to go with them. Let's talk about foods that heal rather than harm. Finally, we'll review the truth about fruit and brain protection in aging. While they might seem healthy and harmless after explaining 9 fruits that may increase stroke risk, you might feel confused, maybe even a little betrayed. Fruit has always been called nature's medicine, a gift from the earth, and something you could trust your whole life. But especially for those of us over 60, the truth is more complicated and understanding it is far more important. Aging changes everything. The foods you ate in your 30s and 40s don't affect your body the same way anymore. Kidney filtration slows down, the liver's ability to process drugs decreases. Blood vessels become more fragile and less flexible, and among all organs, the brain is the most delicate, becoming increasingly sensitive to changes in blood pressure, blood sugar, and clotting factors. Every bite matters more than ever. Many seniors, even with good intentions, unknowingly develop habits that endanger their brains. Bananas with medication, a bunch of grapes as a snack pineapple after dinner, a full glass of orange juice in the morning. Such habits are so familiar and ordinary that no one questions them. But beneath the surface, quietly and visibly and slowly, inflammation increases, hardening the arteries excessively or insufficiently, thinning the blood, and in the worst cases, triggering a series of changes that can form clots, blocking oxygen supply to the brain. As a neurologist, I have observed the aftermath. Patients waking up healthy, finishing a day in the ICU. Tiny blood clots the size of rice grains, formed at the wrong time and place, causing people to lose the ability to speak, walk, and recognize loved ones. It breaks my heart. Furthermore, unfortunately, many of these events could have been prevented not by increasing medication, but by raising awareness about the interaction between food and aging. But here's some good news. Not all fruit is dangerous. In fact, some fruits, when chosen wisely and eaten carefully, can be powerful allies in protecting your brain heart and independence. So what should you aim for first? Berries? Blueberries, raspberries, and blackberries are low in sugar and rich in antioxidants containing compounds called polyphenols that protect blood vessels and reduce inflammation. They don't spike blood sugar, don't interfere with medications, and naturally support memory and circulation. Second are green apples like Granny Smith. Unlike sweet apples, these have a low impact on blood sugar and contain flavonoids that protect the brain. Eating them with a small amount of cheese or nut butter provides gentle energy without sharp drops. Third is avocado. Strictly speaking, it's a fruit, but it regulates blood pressure and supports nerve function. Many people forget it's rich in healthy fats. It certainly contains potassium, but it's absorbed slowly by the body, unlike sweet fruits. Fourth are lemons and limes. When used not as snacks, but to enhance flavor, they support liver detox and digestion without adding sugar or interfering with most medications. Just a little water with them gently hydrates and awakens the body without harm. Fifth is pomegranate, but only in small amounts. The juice is concentrated, so be careful not to drink too much. If you want to drink it, dilute it with water and limit it to a few ounces. The antioxidant effects are beneficial, but caution is needed, especially if you take blood pressure or heart medications. And above all, timing is important. Eat fruit early in the day, never on an empty stomach, and always with a protein source or healthy fat to slow absorption and minimize blood sugar spikes or blood pressure drops. Don't eat fruit right before bed. As the body weakens, blood circulation is at its lowest. A sudden spike of sugar or acid at that time can disrupt balance, and damage might go unnoticed until it's too late. Let me be clear, this is not meant to scare you. It's about respect for your age, your body, and the quiet signals it sends. You are not fragile, but you are different. But that doesn't mean you have to stop enjoying the sweetness of life. It means you should enjoy it wisely with the knowledge and dignity gained from a lifetime of experience. You've reached this chapter of life through patience, wisdom, and caution. Let simple habits like casually eating fruit not become thieves that quietly steal your health. Every choice, even a snack, can bring you closer to vitality or put you at risk. So read labels, consult your doctor, and consider what's on your plate and how it affects your body. Not just today, but weeks or months from now. Because the truth is, you don't eat just to live. You eat to keep your mind sharp, to stay standing, and to maintain yourself. And with the right knowledge, the right fruit, and the right timing, you will surely be wise and cautious. And remember, your brain listens to everything you give it. Cultivate the future you deserve. These lessons aim to inspire you to live a fulfilling, authentic life. Now, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned or plan to apply in your life. Let's support each other on this journey to embrace these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment. If not, feel free to share your feedback and thoughts. Your feedback is very important to us. If you want to see more content like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. Live your life the way you want.